Coach Simpson, appreciate you tuning in to my YouTube channel. Talk a little defense today. I think it's something that I think a lot of people know me offensively for what we run offensively, but I actually cut my teeth as a defensive coordinator at a pretty young age. And I really think defensive football is one of the hardest things to teach as a coach because you have to do so many different things and have so many different answers for an offense. And there's a lot of different ways you can teach the defense. And so that's kind of what I wanted to get into today, was really asking you the question, how do you build your defensive structure? For me, I'm a big 3-4 guy. So I've put out a lot of different materials. If you're interested on 3-4, kind of how we run our system and what we call our stuff. And the big thing you have to figure out before you get into any of that is, what is your theory? What is your defensive theory? So that's what every book I have starts off with, is kind of here's what we model our defense after. And that can change year to year as I've grown and as the game has evolved. We've changed our defensive structure a little bit. Also depends year to year on your talent, who you're playing, how aggressive or, how much do you want to play more conservative defensively. Before you get into a lot of this other stuff, you got to kind of have that mindset. What do you want to do? And a 3-4 defense like we run can be super aggressive. It can be super conservative, or it can be more of a hybrid type look where you do a little bit of both and you mix and match a lot of stuff. Okay, so you got to figure out that as you're doing your defense. And this is not an infomercial, but I do want to hit one thing. If you are trying to build your defense, I've got a defensive coordinator workbook that I think will be very helpful. It's going to kind of walk through this stuff. I'm not doing the information, you're doing your own. So it kind of walks you through personnel, and then you kind of go through terminology, fits. And as you can tell, it's a lot of worksheets. It's things that you go through. And hopefully the process, if you're like me, I like to write things down or type things up. The process really helps me to understand what I'm looking for. These are the different things you'll go through. Now that book's 200 pages, so there's a lot more than what I'm getting here. But this is basically what you need to figure out defensively as you're implementing a defense. And that's kind of what I wanted this talk to be about. So the first thing is, you need to figure out what's your base and what's your home. What is your base coverage going to be that you want to be really good at? That can be man, that can be cover 2, that can be cover 4, that can be whatever it is. What is your home coverage? And then of course you need to spend the majority of your time on that coverage. The same thing with your front. Are you going to be a slanting front, a gap sound? It can be gap sound and slanting, but are you going to be not as movable, but more of a kind of sit in the gap, 2 gap? What are you going to do defensively? I can't answer that for you. You've got to answer that, but then you have to figure out that's our base. And what I've seen too many young coaches do, myself included, is we don't spend enough time working on our base. All the other stuff is fun on YouTube, Twitter, social media, research. Sometimes the guys that study the hardest are the worst about doing this, is you have so many different quivers in your, whatever they call that, I guess it'd be the quiver, arrows in your quiver, okay, that you want to use all of them instead of be really good at what you have. Find your base and make sure you're really good at it. And then look at branching off of that. Second thing you gotta do is, what are our run fits in every defense? I've seen a lot of different coverage stuff. And I'm not saying not to have a bunch of coverage stuff, but the first thing you need to answer is who fits what on run. Because there's a lot of looks we get, I know as an offensive coordinator, or it's just not very sound in the run fit. So you wanna run, cover 2, man. That's 7 guys potentially in coverage. Well, who's fitting the run? How are you fitting that? How are you dealing out play action pass in that look? So, make sure your run fits are sound in whatever coverage you're in. Most of us at the high school level, there are some teams that do throw it well, but it's still a run first game ultimately. Then coverages. Kind of mentioned that already. You need to be sound in what you're going to do. If you're going to be a mix and match kind of guy, what are some base terminology or leverage type deals that you can work with your kids that they understand the difference in cover 4 and cover 2, or they understand the difference in cover 4 and cover 3 where you're rolling down. What are some easy terms that you're not overloading your kids on that they understand this? And can you be multiple? Absolutely. But don't be so multiple that your kids are confused. What coverage are you going to run that you have a kill call with? We want to run cover 3 roll, unless, well, you need to work through all those unlesses. So kind of figure out what coverage you're going to run and your fits. And once you do those together, once you kind of have, here's our base home, we're going to be really good at coverage-wise, front-wise. Here are our fits on all of these looks. Here's our coverage. Here's our coverages we like. Now I can start playing around with this. But you got to progress that direction. You can't start there and work up. At the bottom, now you can start doing your mixes and your matches, your hybrid type looks. Where now, hey, we want to bring the same blitz, but we're going to bring it from maybe the safety, and the outside backer is going to cover hook to curl, or whatever he's doing. So having the same idea of a blitz, and here's what I'm talking about. Let's say that we just want to run a simple, kind of a simple blitz here, where maybe we're going like a twist, something like that. But we now want to tag that off, and we want to have him do it. Okay, and he's going to roll back, and he's in the flat. However you want to do that. Okay, how are you going to make that as close to the same call for your kids as the safety rolling down and he's running the twist? You know, what is your tag for that? And I've learned if you can have multiple of these tags, then yeah, it can be a little bit on the coach, but this kid only has to learn kind of his key word. And now he knows, here's what I'm running. And defensively, the kids don't need to know this, but you really haven't changed the integrity of what you're doing. It's just a different guy performing it, coming from a different area, and it gives you another tool you can use. I would say be careful where you get into all this. Again, make sure you have your base, your home, make sure you have your fits. And again, that's kind of what I've always tried to do in my different materials. If you want stuff on the 3-4, you know, I've got the swarm stuff. There's 2 books. If you want to do your own Defensive Coordinator workbook, I'm excited about the academy that's been coming out next fall on that. But it's been a pretty good deal to go through. Hopefully it can help you. All these materials are over on my website, fbcoachsimpson.com, or you can go over to Amazon and get it off that if you prefer that way. If you haven't done so, I'd appreciate it if you like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to continue to grow this, put out more information. Appreciate it.